Man, Brian Thomas Jr. film is so much fun to watch. We're going to get into exactly why I'm so high on this guy and why I think he could be a great fit for the Rams. Before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogan. So let's dive into it. So, look, Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU is a 6'3", 209-pound wide receiver that has blazing speed to the point where he completely alters everything that you know about your offense in a good way. Starting with the strengths and what he brings to the table. He's a 3-year starter out of LSU. This is somebody that gets a lot of, I guess, flack because he played with a quarterback that's probably going to go second overall, and he played with a wide receiver who's probably going to go in the top 7 in Malik Neighbors. But I think we might be a little off base here. And the reason I say that is because I actually come away with, Malik Neighbors is probably the better suited receiver if you're asking for, say you get one game, right? And you're playing a game tomorrow and you want to have the better receiver of the two to play in the NFL, say a Super Bowl matchup, right? Okay, you want to pick Malik Neighbors, I get that. But I think when it's all said and done, Brian Thomas Jr. could be the best of the bunch. And I'm not saying he will, but the 4.33 speed is evident. But you know what he has that other 4.3 40 timed wide receivers don't have? Is that he not only has size, but he actually can do other things besides run straight down the field. And we're going to talk about it. I mean, he's an explosive athlete. He's going to get off the line of scrimmage with ease. He releases pretty easily. He's got a stutter, and the stutter move allows him to really, either fight inside or fight outside and have no issues stacking the defensive back. He's got elite size and athleticism as a combination that you just love to see. He tracks the ball extremely well downfield. This is somebody who is not afraid to change his body positioning and adjust to a ball outside of his frame. And that's what I love to see. He's not just straight line speed. He's not just throw it over the top and I'm going to Willie Mays it and run it in for 6. He can do that, like when you actually put the ball on the money. But he's also used to, again, not trying to crap on another quarterback here. I like Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels has quite a few throws on tape where he's underthrowing Brian Thomas Jr., like deep down the field. And then Brian Thomas Jr. has to come back to the ball and try to make a big play on it, and it gets tipped, or he drops it, and it's close enough where you would say it was knocked away, and then people say he has drop issues. Well, there you go. So I like that he attacks the football at its highest point. He's not ready and willing to let it hit him in the chest. He's just not going to do that. He's not a body catcher, which I like. He's a very good blocker, ready and willing, which I think kind of fits him based on all the skill sets and everything that he has. I mean, I think he fits into any offense. If you can't use him, if you really don't know how to use a player like this, you shouldn't be in the NFL calling plays. I'm just going to be honest with you. He has no issue stopping and starting, which is something that I think when you have a bigger, bulkier frame, and he can add bulk, and that's actually kind of an exciting thing, is he can still add, 10, maybe 15 pounds of muscle and still keep a lot of his speed. But with his size at 6'3", 209, he's able to stop and start pretty easily. Change of direction is not, laboring for him. And, he breaks tackles like he's a running back. In the open field, he looks like a running back at times. And, he has the acceleration to turn anything into 6. I'm not going to call him Tyreek Hill, but man, if you put the ball in the money and you throw him open, he's gone. He is gone. He does a really nice job of just breaking free. And, he's a high effort, high motor player. He's a home run ball. Okay. I just watched Juan Soto blast one into the second deck in right field at Yankee Stadium Think about Brian Thomas Jr. as a home run ball, okay? If you hit the home run ball, which Matthew Stafford of the LA Rams does, you can really make plays. And he is somebody that can absolutely change the dynamic of an offense just by having him on the field. You have to respect him as a defense, knowing what this guy can do. He's a very fluid athlete, and genuinely, I mean genuinely, he is an absolute joy to watch on film. Now, before I get into the weaknesses, just want to let you guys know that this video, as always, is brought to you by my sponsor, Mantis Sleep. If you have any difficulty sleeping, put on a sleep mask. They got all sorts of them at Mantis Sleep, and you can go and check out the link in the description using my promo code JKBogan. It'll get you 10% off your purchase. Mantis Sleep masks are essentially 100% blackout. You put on a mask, and it's going to help you sleep. And there are different ones. People like weighted for, reducing stress and anxiety, weighted anything, weighted clothes, anything. Well, they make a weighted sleep mask, so that's great. They also have a sleep mask that connects to your phone. So if you like listening to podcasts or, any sort of music that's really calming late at night, there you go. It'll connect. So again, Mantis Sleep, check it out. Link is in the description, and use my promo code JKBogan to get your 10% off. Now back to the video. So the weaknesses here, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't come away with much. There is not glaring weaknesses, okay? This guy can play right away, okay? Is Malik Neighbors, does he have a higher floor? In my opinion, he does. But I think there's a chance you could say Brian Thomas Jr. has the highest ceiling of anybody in this draft, because if he figures it out, and we'll start with just, his first weakness, with play strength. Okay. I think he's strong, but my only real genuine glaring concern, okay, because the other things you can work around and I believe they're going to get fixed. My genuine concern is that watching the tape, there's a lot of stutter moves. There's a lot of, I'm just going to run right by this guy. There's a lot of crossers, things like that, but you don't see him getting pressed a ton. You don't see physicality at the point of attack on the line of scrimmage. You don't see him getting jammed. And you're going to see that because when you have a receiver like that who has not shown the ability to win that, has not put that on film, teams are going to try that. And if you find out that teams can actually neutralize him right off the line of scrimmage and he can't get off the line of scrimmage, you're going to be sitting there like, oh crap, we took this guy in the first round and we're going to have to scheme him open like he's a gadget guy. And no one wants that. So that is a concern, right? It's not to say he's never been, pressed before. He has. He just not as common on tape. So you'd like to have him, see more of that. And I don't think it's going to be a super issue for him. I think the NFL will probably want him to bulk probably up to 215, maybe 220. But I'm not super concerned about that. Another thing that's a little bit of a concern is his limited route tree usage. It's not to say that he can't run the routes. This goes back to last year's number one wide receiver on my board. A lot of people pushed back and said, there's no way you can say Jalen Hyatt is the best receiver in this draft. And the reason I thought he was is because he did everything extremely well. He had the speed, and the reason why people didn't like him is because he didn't have the route running usage. Now, they just said he couldn't run routes. That's not true. He could. He wasn't asked to. It was the Tennessee offense, very simplistic. We're going deep down the field with Hendon Hooker, Cedric Tillman. Like, we're going to be throwing deep down the field, okay? And I saw a blocking effort from Hyatt, and I saw speed that you can't teach. And when you have the traits, you have speed, you have agility, you have, a bigger frame, you have length, okay? You have ball skills. Now the other things, the NFL coaching, the reason why they pay them the big bucks, they can develop you, they can teach you. So the limited route tree usage, emphasis on usage, not limited route tree, emphasis on limited route tree usage. If you think any of these receivers, especially a guy who is a high motor player, a workhorse, if you think any of these wide receivers in this draft that are serious about the draft, If you think they're going in the first round and they're not practicing in the offseason, their route tree, you're sadly mistaken. He had some concentration drops, okay? But I want to add context here because I think a lot of the drops were due to underthrown balls, okay? He would beat this guy over the top. I want to go back to Arkansas, okay? There's a game against Arkansas. He absolutely wins over the top. It's an easy one, no doubt about it. And the ball is underthrown. And you know, more importantly on this play, Jaden Daniels is sitting there. Like, I mean, it's so evident that BTJ has already won his rep, okay? He stacked the defensive back. He's about 2 steps ahead of him. This is a touchdown on a nice ball. Instead, he underthrows it, and then it's not a completed pass. So you go from having a guy wide open to now he has to turn all the way around, tries to make an attempt, and because he gets his hands on it, it's considered a drop. He should never have had to do that. So this is not a bash fest of Jaden Daniels, who I like, by the way. This is to just remind you that no matter who you have in college, they're going to be underthrowing footballs a lot more than NFL quarterbacks. It's just the way it is. And I think a lot of the drops he had, because people have concerns about his drops, I think came down to that. I think he won the rep and then had it, underthrown and had to make an adjustment. Again, there were some drops that were on him, but I think a lot of the time, those 50-50 contested catches, they didn't have to be contested. He dominated the rep, and it was just underthrown to the point where it let the receiver back on, in the play. So let's talk about my final thoughts on him. We'll give a grade and why I think that he would make a lot of sense with the Rams. So the final thoughts on Brian Thomas Jr. He might come off to some, just hearing him, maybe watching a little bit of him, he might look to you like Gabe Davis. Now, if you don't know who I'm talking about, Gabe Davis played wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. He's the guy who's notorious for 3 touchdowns, 177-yard performance. And then the next week, he goes for 0 catches and 4 targets. Like, he just disappears. BTJ has a much higher tiered wide receiver ceiling, and I think he can do more than Gabe Davis, although I'll give Gabe Davis credit. He could block. But I think there's just more there for Brian Thomas Jr. It's also why Brian Thomas Jr. is going in the first round. Gabe Davis was not a first-round pick. With that said, the question is not whether or not he goes in the first round. The question is, where does he go? Because I think with the speed and size combination and how important speed is in the NFL and how much coaches and GMs and talent evaluators care about speed, he could go as high as top 15. Inside the top 15, I would not be surprised. Bottom line though, if he goes to the right team, I need you guys to understand something here, okay? If he goes to the right team, he will be a day one threat, but if he develops his route running, like say he's just a good route runner, a very good route runner, not even elite, just a very good route runner, with what he already has, what he's already shown on tape, he is going to be an absolute nightmare for defenses to adjust to. I mean, I'm talking, here's the thing. When I watched him, I saw Sammy Watkins coming out of Clemson much taller. And I think coming into the league, he is that as like at the start. But I think his ceiling could be as high as like A.J. Brown, okay? And he's got way more speed than A.J. Brown. So I really believe that. And I think he's going to bulk up, and I think he's going to break even more tackles and be more physical. So I'm excited for him regardless what team he goes to. I'm excited for him just as a really fun player to just evaluate. So with that said, what are my grades? Well, I gave him a 9.4 out of 10 on agility, 9.3 out of 10 blocking, 8.6 out of 10 hands. I probably was a little tough on him there, but is what it is. 9.4 out of 10 release, 8.6 out of 10 route running, 8.8 out of 10 catch in traffic, 9.8 out of 10 for speed, 8.9 out of 10 for yak ability, 9.3 ball tracking, 9.5 spatial awareness, and altogether that comes out to be a 91.6 grade, which is a rookie year starter and a first rounder on my grading scale. But Jake, what are you going to talk about? Didn't you say you have to talk about the Rams? Yes. So the reason why he makes sense for the Rams, regardless if they trade up a little bit, maybe move to 15th with the Colts or whatever, or they pick him at 19. The reason why he makes so much sense, the reason why I'm almost sitting here and saying, you know what, as much as I love Rome Odunze, he might make more sense. The reason I say that is because he has speed that is not currently on the roster. And I say that because Tutu Atwell has that, and they clearly aren't going to give him his due, okay? They brought back DeMarcus Robinson. They phased him out. I know he caught a touchdown in the playoff game. I've already accepted defeat. I am a huge fan of Tutu Atwell, and I hope if, it doesn't work out with the Rams and he's truly just not going to be a 3 receiver or even a 4 receiver, I would love to see him go to the Kansas City Chiefs and catch passes from Patrick Mahomes, or go to the Bills and catch passes from Josh Allen. I'd like to see that for him because I think he's a really talented receiver. I think he's underrated as a blocker and all that. But anyway, back to the whole Brian Thomas Jr. Anyway, Brian Thomas Jr. would not be a reach. I keep seeing that. He would not be a reach at 19. I think if the Rams got him at 19, they would be absolutely set at wide receiver. Now, hear me out, okay? For this year. The next year, does Cooper Kupp stay or go? I don't know. But you have 3 guys on the roster. If Cooper Kupp stays, and say it's Cooper Kupp that we know and love, and he doesn't deal with any injuries, you got Cooper Kupp, you got Puka Nacua, and then you got your, blazing speed X receiver in Brian Thomas Jr., who can take the top off the defense, who with Eric Yarber is going to learn how to run routes precisely. And in Sean McVay's offense is going to absolutely eat. And with Matthew Stafford throwing him the rock, he's not going to have to worry about turning around and trying to jump up for an underthrown football. So look, Brian Thomas Jr. adds something that the Rams haven't had really ever for their offense. They have not had a 6'3" receiver who ran a 4.3. And a reason why, and I'm not a huge fan of 40 times, I got to be honest with you, but the reason why the 4.3 matters to me and why I keep saying it is because he ran a 4.3 on tape. Like, that's what you're getting with him. You're getting a guy that is a big target who can make mid-air adjustments for the football, who ran a 4.3 on tape. Like, he can pull away from guys. I mean, how many times are you watching the tape for LSU, whoever they're going up against, and he's just wide open downfield? How many times does he get the ball and just, he takes it and he just separates instantly? And this is him playing in the SEC. It's not like he's playing against D2, athletes, right? He's playing against the best of college, and he's pulling away from them, which leads me to believe he's going to translate relatively well to the NFL. And if he goes to the Rams of all teams with that offense, with Eric Yarber as the wide receiver coach, and being in the same room as Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, getting to know, and learn the game, the nuances of this game with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas Jr. could end up being better than both of them. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a Triple Crown winner or anything like that, but he has things that Puka Nacua does not. He has things that Cooper Kupp does not. And keep this in mind. They look fast on the field, do they not? I mean, Cooper Kupp, since the torn ACL that he came back from, looks even faster, And, Puka Nacua, he looked wicked fast. I mean, especially in that Washington game when they threw the skinny post over the top. I mean, when you look at Brian Thomas Jr., though, this is like Tutu Atwell speed, but the guy's 6'3". And I would make the argument even though I think Tutu Atwell ran a faster 40 time. Actually, I don't think he did. Tutu Atwell did run a 4.3, but I think it was a later 4.3. I would make the argument, even though they both ran a 4.3, I think Brian Thomas Jr. has more acceleration. I think he separates quicker. I don't know. I have a really good feeling about this guy. There's a reason why, despite it being a controversial take, and I mean no contrarian view on this, it's not just to do it, just to be different. I don't do that, as you guys know. Like, if I believe in something, I just believe in it. Brian Thomas Jr. is the better prospect than Malik Neighbors. And Malik Neighbors is better right now. And so, he might grade out better for some people. I liked looking at more so the long term. Who translates better to the NFL long term? It's Brian Thomas Jr. And he might end up translating so well that this guy can end up being the Justin Jefferson of the class. And what I say by that is, remember when Justin Jefferson went in the middle of the draft? I mean, I'm pretty sure that I think Jalen Reagor was picked ahead of him. He went in the middle of the draft. He didn't go in the top 10. He didn't go in the top 5. He went in the middle of the draft. I would not be surprised if Brian Thomas Jr. had that same type of fate. And I'm not saying they're the same player, but I could see it. So those are my thoughts. Let me know, guys. Do you want Brian Thomas Jr. on the Rams? Personally, I think he might even be a better fit than Rome Odunze and wouldn't cost you anything to trade up for. Again, I'm not against trading up for Rome Odunze, trust me. But that athleticism, that speed, you're not finding that with that body. You're just not finding that in this draft. So those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, folks. Later. Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.